So those were some news stories from Ghana and around the world. Now let's settle for the main stories tonight. After its adoption by the African Union 2 years ago, 22 countries in the continent are expected to ratify the Continental Free Trade Agreement before it can be fully implemented. As the March deadline approaches for full implementation, there are fears that many countries will not be able to adopt the agreement. There's more in the following report by Eben Sabute.
Free trade agreement has already been ratified by 17 countries on the continent, with 5 more to ratify before its full implementation. The inability of the first and the second largest economies on the continent, Nigeria and South Africa, to ratify the deal has been a major challenge by the African Union. The agreement seeks to promote trade by opening up the markets of various countries to be able to trade duty-free and quota-free. It, however, may be facing another setback, according to some industry analysts, due to the fact that there are a number of national elections to be held by some member nations before the deadline. David Ofosu-Dorte is a partner at AB and David.
The deadline is still March. For us to get the 22, then we are likely to miss it. That's why I was talking from that perspective. As at now, 15 have signed, and the reason is with the number of elections that we have by March up to May, many of those who have not signed want to sign it only after the election. If we miss the deadline, it's not the end of the world.
In Ghana, many of the local industries and traders have expressed their readiness to compete with goods coming from other member nations, though there are concerns raised by some business unions that the country could be used as a dumping ground. Chief Executive of Gihog Distilleries, Maxwell Kofi Juma, tells Joy Business he's taking advantage of the deal to enter other markets with their products.
Now with a new free trade in Africa, we're going to every African country. But we are targeting Europe. In fact, this month, they are going. We tell them our drinks are superior. Simplicity.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Carlos Ahenkra, has advised manufacturing firms to pay attention to packaging of their products to serve as an added advantage.
We expect the Ghanaian manufacturers to be competitive and be ready for this kind of competition, because you would sit here, you would think that you are able to manufacture, let's say, a watch, a timepiece, or you're able to manufacture some shoes. But there's a company in Egypt who is doing it with a proper quality, better quality. They can bring it here without any duty, and it will challenge and compete with your kind of shoes that you are manufacturing here. So I would take advantage of this opportunity also to let our manufacturers understand that packaging or proper production to give you the necessary visibility and penetration is also very important.
In a recent tweet after Senegal's parliament ratified a deal, Trade and Industry Commissioner of the African Union, Ambassador Albert Muchanga, expressed optimism that the 5 remaining countries will sign the deal before the next African Union summit.
For Project Services has committed $5 billion to construct over 100,000 affordable houses in the country through an agreement with government. Now, according to Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Frida Prempeh, the project, expected to be rolled out by the first quarter of the year, is in line with government's vision of addressing the growing housing deficit.
The United Nations Office for Project Services is fully funding the $5 billion project, with the government of Ghana only providing land. According to the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Madam Frida Prempeh, they are hopeful to roll out the project by the first quarter of the year.
We are looking at other avenues where we can solicit for support to help us bridge the housing deficit gap. UNOPS have come in to support us with a whopping sum of $5 billion. We're going to roll out the first tranche of over 100,000 units after the sword curtain for the project. Government is not going to commit any resources to this particular project. It's going to be funded through an SPV with UNOPS. So it's heartwarming to have such a project with the UN. So we are hoping that when we do the groundbreaking or the sword curtain, hopefully first quarter of this year, we'll start rolling. We are in the process of finalizing the contractors who are going to work with the UNOPS project.
The Deputy Minister further noted the project will be spread across all 16 regions.
Some of the main challenges that investors usually face is with land acquisition and also funding and return on investment and all that. So the ministry has taken it upon ourselves to acquire land banks across the country. We want to put up buildings not only in the regional capitals, then we have 16 regions. We don't have 10 anymore. So even with the UNOPS project, we are looking at 16 regions. We are looking at the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies as well. We want to reach out to every community.
The project is expected not only to help address the bloating housing deficit of about 2 million, but also create job opportunities. Prospective buyers can register online to secure an apartment. For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo.
Let's turn to oil matters now. Deputy Minister for Energy, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has cautioned the newly launched Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber not to be used as a mouthpiece for sharing complaints, but rather enhance the further growth of the petroleum industry. The chamber is a common platform with the aim of achieving a long-term sustainable success of the upstream sector by collaborating with government on industry policies and programs. Dr. Amin Adam urged members to discuss issues in a harmonious way with government.
The evolving development of the country's petroleum sector has necessitated the formalization of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber, which was initially incorporated as a company under the Companies Act in 2013. Currently, there are a number of international oil companies operating in the country. The industry has 3 producing offshore fields and other ongoing upstream activities. Deputy Minister of Energy, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, launched the Upstream Petroleum Chamber. He cautioned members of the chamber not to use the platform as a mouthpiece to share complaints, but to use it for further development of the oil and gas industry.
This industry needs a mouthpiece that will serve as the platform for engagement with government, with other stakeholders on issues relating to the industry, policy issues, operational issues, and even for the government to benefit from best practices, because these companies are global companies working across the world, and so they see things that we are not able to see. And so through the chamber, we should be able to dialogue and engage on very important issues that will grow our industry further. This chamber should not be a complaint-receiving chamber, because that will not serve the purpose of the chamber. It should rather be a platform for discussing industry-wide issues.
CEO of the chamber, who is also the former managing director of Tullow Ghana, Charles Darku, tells Joy Business the chamber, which is open to all upstream petroleum companies, will provide a healthy engagement with all stakeholders of the industry.
It's open to all upstream operators, both the production and exploration companies as well as the service companies to join. And so far, we do have some of them joining. We're developing a business plan which will lay out sort of our strategic plan. And basically, as I said, it would revolve around issues of common interest to the members, which are prioritized in the year in which we are operating. So each year we'll prioritize our activities.
Later in an interview, the Chief Financial Officer of the International Oil Company, ENI Ghana, Rosario Letizia, lauded the formation of the chamber.
We always join this kind of chamber to improve the oil and gas business in the country where we operate. So actually, we are very happy that this Chamber of Oil and Gas Upstream in Ghana is born, and we hope that this will bring more unity among the oil and gas companies, more collaboration with Petroleum Commission, with GMPC for the benefit of the countries and for the companies that are joining this chamber.
The chamber will operate along the lines of the other chambers like the Ghana Chamber of Mines. Current membership of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber include Tullow Ghana, Cosmos Energy, Anadako, ENI, Vitor, and Ake.
While still staying with oil, the country has so far made $866 million as returns on oil revenues invested since commercial production began in 2011. This was contained in the latest Bank of Ghana report on petroleum receipts. George Rafe has the details.
The report revealed that as at the end of December last year, Ghana's share of oil revenue invested in government-backed securities outside the country stood at $866 million. The stabilization levy contributed $381 million to this. Stabilization levy are deductions that are made from the oil revenue and set aside to help cushion consumers from rising petroleum prices on the international market. However, the data revealed that some $206 million have been withdrawn from the fund without any clear explanation. The Heritage Fund, which is also established so that the country can set aside some of the oil revenue for future generations, contributed $485 million. However, there are concerns about returns on these investments over the years, which has been described as low. 813 million barrels of crude oil were exported from the country's oil fields for last year, while total revenue in terms of taxes on the firms operating in the country as well as charges stood at $964 million.
And this is what we've been asking you about tonight in our poll. Let's pull it up, bring you what you have been saying about whether or not the country is properly managing proceeds from oil, as we've been made to know that we got $866 million from commercial production of oil since 2011. So 13% of you say that you don't think that we are managing proceeds from oil well, and 87%, 13 say yes, we are managing, 87% say no. And that's quite a number of you saying that we are not managing our oil proceeds very well, and that's based on 202 votes. So what do we do? Well, investment analyst Mike Kobler has called for a review of laws on how the country's oil revenues can be invested. Listen.
The nature of the fund is that the name and the criticism of the fund is as a heritage fund. It is a heritage for the future. You expect that we invest in a way and manner that will give us some substantial return and to grow the fund at a growth rate of about 1%, 2%, 3%, or even below 1%. I mean, we are never going to be able to grow this fund. So if there's a restriction in the law which does not allow us to be a bit aggressive, I think it's about time we look at it. I will advocate for that.
And the caution is that these are heritage funds. You don't want to put it in any instrument that could be deemed as risky.
I agree, but at the same time, and that's that we don't want to get into derivatives and other sophisticated asset class investments. But there are fixed income investments with some fund managers who just focus on mezzanine finance or fixed income security that we could place these funds with and get a much better yield, I mean, going forward.
Well, the poll is still open, so you can visit our Facebook page, Joy Business, to vote. And that will be it for this half of Business Live. We are taking a short break. We'll be back with more.